Stories of Great Christians. We are bringing you from the radio studios of the Moody Bible Institute in Chicago, Chapter 11 in the story, Layman from God, a portrait of D.L. Moody.
Tim.
Oh, hi, Mr. Farwell.
Come on over.
Sure. I didn't expect to see you here, Mr. Farwell.
Well, Tim, you see, I've been noticing that you walk a long way over to the Illinois Street Church for Sunday school.
Yes, sir, Mr. Farwell. I walked 3 miles.
3 miles? That's a long way to come when you've got another Sunday school closer to your home here.
Sure, but they love a fellow over there.
They love a fellow over there. This is why the North Market Sabbath School was near to bursting its sides. The big, friendly fellow with the beard. Always a cheerful smile. Always a big handshake. And a question or two about your personal well-being. Through this ministry, the Lord brought about many conversions, and each one was told to attend a regular evangelical church of their choice, because the North Market Hall was only a Sunday school.
Mr. Moody, we don't feel very good in another place. You're not so good at all. We like it here.
Sure, and if that ain't the truth, Mr. Moody, in another place we like the strangers. We don't seem to fit, that we don't.
I appreciate your loyalty, but I'm against creating a new church or any organization when there are already so many that need people.
Yeah, that could be true, but this is our home for church, and you are pastor, Mr. Moody.
Wouldn't you be after thinking about it, sir?
Yeah, think about it, and pray over it. That would be good.
These immigrants from Europe found that here was a friendliness, an atmosphere of their own, where they could be comfortable with their beloved leader. Here they learned American ways and perfected their English language. Mr. Moody made them feel at home. The teachers and staff let them know somebody cared about them, and they had good fellowship, Christian fellowship between themselves and with the Lord. Here was a group of believers that wanted to form a church, and Moody found himself in a tight position.
But I think we have to face that situation.
Let the meeting come to order. I can tell you right now that I'm not convinced this is a wise thing to do. You'll have to sell me on the idea.
Mr. O'Shea will speak for us, Mr. Moody.
Now, did you ever hear of an Irishman who was nervous because he had to talk? Mr. Moody, sure, and as I'm a foot high, me brothers and sisters here want to make a church.
For what reasons? I need reasons, O'Shea.
Patience, sir. If you rush me, I'll push me up ahead of myself. It says here in the book of Acts, after the day of Pentecost,
Mr. O'Shea.
Pentecost. Well, sir, Peter tells those that were saved were baptized. I'm going to try to read this now. And they continued steadfast in the apostles' doctrine and fellowship, and in breaking of bread and in prayers. Now, sir, there was nigh to 3,000 souls did this. We're not that many, mind you, but we want to do what they did in the early days of the church.
Do you understand what we think, Mr. Moody?
I think I do.
You are the apostle to us. You took us out of the saloons, sure, and even you dragged us out.
Yeah.
You even picked our children off the streets.
That's right.
You say we should go to a regular church, but we can't. You showed us Christ here, and here's where we obliged to stay, if you would be so kind.
We'll need a new church building.
Yeah, that is what we want. A new house for God.
Will you support a church faithfully?
Yes, we will support it.
All right, let's build a church.
They gave what they could from their meager wages, each and every one of them. Even the Sunday school children helped with their pennies. In 1863, a lot was secured on Illinois Street between Wells and LaSalle Streets. The workmen began to build, and the brick two-story church was completed late the same year. This was the parent organization of the Moody Memorial Church. The building was plain but useful. There was an auditorium with 1,500 seats, plus several classrooms. It rapidly organized into a fully officered, independent unit. The charter membership was 12, Mr. Moody being one of them. The work blossomed into a very fruitful ministry for Christ.
Emma, a penny for your thoughts.
Well, I'm thinking about the majesty of God. Isn't he marvelous?
Oh, yes, my dear. He is God, and with him nothing is impossible.
I just love to stand back and watch him work out his plans.
True, but I like to be part of the work. I love the excitement of getting things done for him. Of course, he has to pave the way or it wouldn't go at all.
And God surely pushed you very nicely this morning, dear one.
How's that?
With preaching.
Let's not talk about that. It was horrible. Just a horrible sermon.
Oh, DL, that's not true. My, but God did that so cleverly.
Just because a seminary student didn't come for the morning worship doesn't mean I'm a preacher. It was a terrible piece of work.
That isn't what I heard. The people liked it.
The question is, dear wife, did God like it?
I believe he did. And what's more, I think I married a preacher. A very good preacher who can talk the language of the people.
How prophetic were the words of Emma Moody. The people of the Illinois Street Church insisted that Mr. Moody preach at least at the evening service, and this he did. Outsiders were brought in from the Chicago Theological Seminary and other organizations for the morning worship service, which hewed to the more formal lines. However, the evening service was informal, the way Moody and the people liked it, and it clipped along at a brisk pace with Moody preaching. The evening service was soon a standing-room-only affair. One time there was a man who loved to heckle and disturb Moody during services. On this occasion, he had been particularly rude. On the way out of the first evening service, the man stopped to shake hands with D.L. and received this angry rebuff.
I suppose if Jesus Christ could eat the Last Supper with a Judas Iscariot, I ought to shake hands with you.
Moody lost his temper and thrust the man away from himself in anger. Just before the second service, Emma and Farwell had D.L. aside, talking to him about it.
Oh, my dear husband, why did you do that? So many saw it.
Saw it. Many heard it.
Dear one, did Jesus shove Judas away from him?
I'm afraid the second service is ruined, Moody.
I will take care of it. Pray for me that the second service will not be spoiled.
The second service got underway with the preliminaries going well. Then came time for Moody to preach. There was much prayer that God would somehow save the second service. What would Moody do about his previous outburst of temper? He moved to the pulpit.
Friends, before beginning tonight, I want to confess that I yielded a short time ago to my temper. I've done wrong. I lost my temper with a man, and I want to confess my wrong before you all. And if that man is present here, I want to ask his forgiveness. And God's.
The meeting was not a failure, but rather a blessing. Moody set the tone by his straightforward confession and display of humility. This was the sign of a great man. Now along came the question of ordination. The Congregational Church wanted to ordain him so that he could administer the sacraments himself. His immediate reaction was,
I've never been through a college or a theological seminary except to go in one door and out the other. I therefore cannot accept your offer and do justice to your rules and my own judgment.
However, he must have had second thoughts on the subject because he did enroll in the newly formed Baptist Theological Seminary. Although he attended a few classes, he didn't complete any courses there. There really wasn't any way he could, not with his many responsibilities. D.L. discussed the question of his ordination with his minister friend, G.S.F. Savage.
Savage, what do you think about my being ordained?
Moody, don't do it. If you're ordained, you'll be on the level with the rest of us. Now you are a preaching layman. That gives you an advantage. You are on the right road. Keep to it.
John Farwell had this comment later in his life as he reflected on the same question.
Looking back, it's a fair statement to say that Moody had more power and influence as a layman. He wanted to reach the lower strata of people, the unchurched, the poor, and the unfortunate of his day. However, his great strength as a layman for God was the fact that he could get other laymen to work as well as the ministers.
Later on, you'll hear Moody's great and famous Gap Men speech as plans were unfolding to start the Moody Bible Institute. This speech gives insight to the decision he made about remaining a layman. He wouldn't take a salary because that would limit his freedom. He was advised against joining the Yankee Army as a chaplain. That, too, would restrict his freedom. For this man, the ability to evade any restricting ties was essential. The decision was wise. D.L. remained lay pastor of the Illinois Street Church until 1866. At that time, a young man was called to the pulpit and ordained. Moody retained the title of superintendent and pushed the work with all his God-given might.
Moody, what ails you?
Harsha, here's the proof of the power of prayer and faith in God.
In that envelope?
Yes, there's a check in it. Open it for me.
Well, okay, let's see.
How much?
$2,000.
Praise God. Many years later, Harsha's son asked me about this incident. I said God gave me the money that day because I needed it. But often I would ask him for money when I thought I needed it, and God would say, "No, Moody, you just get along the best way you can. It'll do you good for a while." But this particular time, I needed it to pay some bills for the church. It's always been my policy to remain debt-free. What a great God we have.
Now we've finished the Civil War, Sunday School, YMCA, and Illinois Street Church chapters of Moody's life. We've come full circle around all of his Chicago work of 15 years. Soon, God will launch this servant internationally. And so we conclude Chapter 11 of the story, Layman from God, a portrait of D.L. Moody. This is another in the series, Stories of Great Christians, produced by the Department of Broadcasting of the Moody Bible Institute in Chicago.